The ritual of death begins. The air was heavy. Dust floated in the sunlight that shone down through the open top of the alien arena. Thousands of alien eyes watched in silence. The crowd was made of tall, silver-skinned beings with sharp faces and glowing tattoos on their arms. They had gathered for a sacred event, an execution. In the center of the arena stood a human man. His name was Jackson. He was tall, strong, with dark brown eyes that stayed calm, even though his hands were tied behind his back with thick alien chains. Blood dried on his shirt, and bruises marked his face. But he stood straight. He didn't beg. He didn't cry. The alien announcer stepped forward. His voice echoed around the arena. "This human has broken our space laws. He entered forbidden land. He is a spy. He is weak. Today, he will face the ritual of one strike." The crowd shouted in agreement. One strike. One death. Then she appeared. Princess Zura. She walked out from the shadows, dressed in shining black and silver armor. Her long white hair blew in the warm desert wind. Her face was cold, serious, emotionless. In her hand, she held a long spear with a glowing red tip. It was made of star metal. No one had ever survived its strike. Zura was no ordinary alien. She was the daughter of the queen, a warrior trained since childhood. She had killed more enemies than most of the alien generals, and now she would prove once again that no human could survive their justice. Jackson looked at her as she approached. Their eyes met. She raised the spear slowly. "Any last words?" she asked in a low voice. Jackson shrugged. "Go ahead. Do your worst." The crowd laughed. Zura didn't smile. She stepped back, raised the spear high above her head, and then with perfect aim, she threw it straight at his heart. Time seemed to slow down. The crowd went quiet. The spear flew through the air with deadly speed. It glowed brighter as it cut through the wind. Then, it hit. The sound was strange. Not a stab, not a slice, but a bounce. The spear hit Jackson's chest and bounced off like a toy hitting a wall. It fell to the ground with a dull thud. Silence. Zura stared, her eyes wide. Jackson blinked and looked down. His shirt had a burn mark, but no wound. No blood. He was still alive. The broken spear lay at his feet. The crowd gasped. Then someone screamed. The spear failed. More voices joined in. "The law! The law!" Zura turned pale. She looked at her glowing spear. It had cracked down the center. The red energy faded. She dropped to her knees. "No," she whispered. "This can't be." The announcer stepped forward again, voice shaking now. "By ancient code, if the sacred spear fails, the attacker must serve the target forever." Zura's hands trembled. She looked at Jackson again. He didn't look angry, just confused. He took a small step forward. "What does that mean?" The announcer said it again, louder. "She belongs to you now. She is bound to you. Her life, her sword, her soul." Zura clenched her fists. She looked like she wanted to scream or cry. But instead, she stood slowly, walked to Jackson, and bowed her head. "I belong to you now, human." Jackson stared at her. What kind of messed up law is this? The crowd began to shout. Some cheered. Some booed. Some called for a retrial. Others chanted his name. Jackson looked around, still trying to understand what just happened. But one thing was clear. The spear could not pierce him. And now, the deadliest alien warrior in the galaxy was his. A princess in chains. Zura had never felt shame before. She was born in fire, raised with blades. Her first kill was at age 9. Her mother, the Queen of Aurelia, had trained her to be perfect, strong, proud, unbreakable. Every alien bowed when they saw her. Even warlords feared her name. But now, she walked behind a human, collar around her neck, a glowing mark on her arm, pulsing with ancient blue energy. The binding seal, an old law her people had forgotten. Until now. Jackson didn't speak. He had a piece of dried alien fruit in his hand and a strange look in his eyes, like he still couldn't believe any of this was real. He looked at the princess, tall, fierce, silent. "You okay back there?" he asked. She didn't answer. The guards watched them from a distance, unsure what to do. The law said she belonged to him now, but they didn't like it. She was royalty. He was just a human soldier, an outsider. Jackson glanced at her glowing mark again. "So this thing makes you follow me?" Still, she stayed silent. He sighed. "Great, kidnapped by aliens, nearly executed, and now I got a space princess on a leash." They walked through long stone halls of the alien fortress. Glowing blue lights lined the walls. Everything felt cold and sharp, like the entire place was made by warriors who had never smiled. Zura's boots echoed behind him. She hated this. She hated how the chains hummed with magic, how her muscles refused to attack him, how her heart beat strangely every time he looked at her. And worst of all, she hated the human's kindness. When they reached the prisoner room, Jackson stopped. "You can take the bed," he said. Zura frowned. "What? I'll sleep on the floor." "No, I am your servant now." "I do not." "I didn't ask for a servant," he interrupted. "You tried to kill me." "I failed," she said coldly. "So now I serve." Jackson shook his head. "This law of yours is insane." She didn't reply. She sat on the floor instead, back straight, hands resting on her knees like a warrior in meditation. Jackson watched her. "You don't talk much, do you?" "Talking wastes energy," she said flatly. He chuckled. "Yeah, and kindness must be a war crime on your planet." For a second, her lip almost twitched. Almost. That night, Jackson couldn't sleep. He lay on the cold floor, using his jacket as a pillow. The alien stone was hard, and the ceiling glowed faintly blue. Somewhere far away, alien soldiers marched. He sat up and looked over. Zura was awake, staring straight ahead, her eyes cold as stars. "You're really not gonna sleep. Warriors rest only when safe." He blinked. "Do you think I'm gonna stab you in your sleep or something? I failed the spear ritual. If my people see me with you, they may attack, or kill us both. I must stay ready." He frowned. "You don't owe me anything." She turned to him, eyes sharp. "That is not how my world works." Jackson sighed and stood up. He walked over and sat next to her. "Okay, tell me something then." She looked at him with suspicion. "Like what? Why do you hate humans so much?" Zura's jaw tightened. "Because your kind brought fire to our skies. Your ships poisoned our moons. You steal, destroy, colonize. And you smile while doing it." Jackson stared at the ground. "Not all of us." Silence. Then she asked, voice softer, "Why did your chest not bleed?" He looked down at his shirt. The burn mark was still there. "I don't know. Maybe luck. Maybe your spear was faulty." "It was not faulty," she snapped. "That spear was forged in the core of our holy mountain. It has never failed." He raised an eyebrow. "Then maybe I'm just built different." Zura didn't smile, but something changed in her expression, a flicker of curiosity. "Your heart did not fear me. Was I supposed to?" She looked away. For the first time in her life, she didn't have an answer. The next morning, 2 alien guards entered the room with food, purple cubes and green liquid in crystal bowls. "You are to stay in this room," one said to Jackson. "The Queen is watching." They placed the food down and left without another word. Jackson looked at the strange cubes. "You eat this stuff?" "Yes." "What's it taste like?" Zura picked up one and bit into it calmly. "Sour lightning." Jackson laughed. "Awesome. Sounds delicious." He tried one, and his face twisted instantly. Ugh, that's worse than Grandma's medicine. Zura washed him, and this time, she smiled. A real, small, almost hidden smile. It lasted 2 seconds, but he saw it. He smiled too. That night, something strange happened. Zura had just closed her eyes when a loud screech echoed from the hallway. Jackson jumped up. What was that? Zura stood fast, eyes alert. Danger. The door burst open. 2 masked aliens rushed in with glowing daggers, assassins, sent to kill the human. Zura had a choice. She could step aside, let them kill him. The binding law would break. She'd be free. Her muscles trembled. But she moved. With a sharp cry, she blocked the first blade with her arm, twisting the dagger away. Blood spilled. She winced. Jackson grabbed a metal rod from the floor and hit the second assassin hard, knocking him back. Together, they fought like one unit, alien and human. When it was over, the assassins lay unconscious on the floor. Zura's arm bled badly. She leaned against the wall. You didn't have to do that, Jackson said. She looked at him, breathing hard. Yes, I did. He stepped forward and tore part of his shirt, wrapping her wound gently. She didn't pull away. Why? He asked quietly. She looked into his eyes. Because I think you are not what they told me. And for the first time, Jackson realized something. The princess wasn't his prisoner. She was becoming something else. They want him dead. The queen sat on her crystal throne, staring at the silver screen in front of her. Her long fingers tapped slowly on the armrest as the footage played again. It showed Jackson and Zura fighting side by side. A human and her daughter, fighting as one. Like allies. Like something more. The queen's eyes narrowed. This must end, she said coldly. General Kren stepped forward and bowed low. Your Majesty, the warriors are already asking questions. They whisper that the human has cursed the princess. It is not a curse, she said sharply. It is weakness, and we do not tolerate weakness. She stood up slowly. Send the silent blades. Tonight, the human must die. Inside the fortress, Jackson sat quietly, holding a small alien book in his hands. The words didn't make much sense, but he liked the pictures. Strange animals, giant trees, glowing skies. It reminded him of Earth's fairy tales. Zura sat across from him. Her wounded arm was wrapped in fresh cloth. Her armor was off. She wore simple dark robes now, her white hair tied back. She looked calmer, but distant. You're staring again, Jackson said, not looking up. I am thinking, she replied. About what? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, about how everything I believed is falling apart. He closed the book and leaned forward. You believed humans were monsters, right? She nodded. And now? She looked at him. Now, I see something different. Still dangerous, still strange, but also kind, soft, confusing. Jackson smiled a little. Thanks, I think. Before she could reply, the lights in the room flickered. A cold wind passed through the hallway. Zura stood up instantly. Her hand moved to her side, but she had no weapon. Stay behind me, she whispered. What is it? They're here. The walls trembled. Shadows danced across the doorway. Then they entered. 3 assassins, dressed in tight black suits that shimmered like liquid. No faces, no sound, only the deadly curve of their twin daggers, glowing purple with poison. Zura's heart pounded. She knew them. The silent blades. Illit killers. Loyal only to the queen. Sent only for one purpose. To erase. To destroy. Without mercy. One stepped forward, pointing at Jackson. The human must die. Your blood will be forgiven if you step aside, princess. Zura didn't move. She stepped in front of Jackson, arms outstretched. No. The lead assassin tilted his head. You protect him. Yes. Then you die with him. They rushed forward. Blades flashed. Jackson grabbed the metal rod again, swinging with all his strength. Zura moved like a dancer, fast, deadly. She blocked one strike, kicked a blade from a hand, dodged another. But they were fast. Too fast. One sliced across Jackson's shoulder. He cried out, falling back. Zura screamed and drove her fist into the attacker's chest. He flew back, crashing into the wall. Blood dripped from her knuckles. She turned, eyes wild, breathing hard. Don't touch him, she growled. The assassins hesitated. This was no weak princess. This was still the warrior. And she was in love. After a long, brutal fight, the last assassin lay motionless. The room was a mess. Broken lamps, shattered chairs, glowing blood on the floor. Zura knelt beside Jackson, pressing cloth to his wound. It's not deep, she whispered. You'll live. He winced. Good to know. Though I kinda wish these guys came with warning signs. She looked down at him, and something changed in her face. Not fear, not anger, but sorrow. They'll keep coming, she said. As long as I'm with you, they'll try again. Jackson sat up slowly. Then let's run. Together. She shook her head. No, it won't work. They'll chase us across stars. So what? We keep running. We fight back. You don't understand, she said softly. I am not just a soldier. I am the queen's daughter. I am her legacy. Then prove her wrong. She looked at him. Really looked. He was bruised, bleeding, tired, and still trying to protect her. You're strange, Jackson, she said. Yeah, he grinned. I get that a lot. Later that night, they sat by the window, watching the alien moons rise. Zura broke the silence. In my culture, she said, bonding is sacred. The ritual that bound me to you was meant to shame. But now, she looked at the glowing mark on her arm. I don't feel shame. Jackson turned to her. What do you feel? She touched his hand gently. I feel free. His heart skipped. She leaned closer, whispering, They want you dead, Jackson, but I will not let that happen. He nodded, and I won't leave you behind. Their hands stayed together under the alien sky, glowing blue. Outside the fortress, soldiers began to gather. The queen had issued a new order. Bring my daughter back, alive, or in chains. A heart begins to beat. The desert winds howled under the triple moonlight. Jackson ran beside Zura, boots crunching on red sand, lungs burning with each breath. Behind them, alarms echoed through the fortress they had escaped. Loud, sharp, angry. The queen's soldiers would not be far behind. This way, Zura shouted, pulling him behind a jagged rock formation that sparkled with strange minerals. They ducked low, hiding beneath the curved stone wall, surrounded by glowing alien plants that pulsed softly like jellyfish. The world around them was beautiful, cold, wild, and nothing like Earth. Jackson leaned back, gasping. How far are we? Not far enough, Zura said. Her eyes scanned the horizon. But for now, we rest. He nodded, still catching his breath. Zura stood tall, her white hair catching the moonlight. Her armor was gone now. She wore simple cloth and leather, tied tight around her arms and legs. She no longer looked like a royal warrior, but more like a rebel, a fugitive. Jackson smiled weakly. Nice outfit. Zura gave him a tired glance. I don't wear it for fashion. He chuckled. No, but it looks good on you anyway. She turned away quickly, but he noticed the small flicker in her expression. That tiny, hidden smile she always tried to hide. They built a small camp between the rocks. Jackson used a broken metal shard to light a fire with dried alien roots. Zura watched silently, curious at how he worked with such focus and patience. We had electric heat back home, he said as the flames finally caught. But my dad made sure I knew the old way. Survival stuff. Zura nodded. Your father was a warrior. Not exactly. He was a mechanic, fixed things. But he always said, knowing how to survive means you're already strong. She looked into the fire. Your people are strange. Yeah, but not all bad, right? Zura didn't reply. She reached into her small pouch and handed him a wrapped piece of food, soft alien bread. He looked surprised. You brought food. I always prepare for war, she said. Is that what this is? He asked softly. A war? She paused, then said, no, not anymore. They ate in silence. The fire warmed their faces. Around them, the alien desert stretched out like an ocean of blood-red sand and crystal rocks. After a while, Jackson leaned back and looked up at the sky. Stars burned in colors he didn't know. Blue, green, violet, gold. I miss Earth sometimes, he whispered. Real rain, birds, coffee. Zura tilted her head. Coffee. He smiled. It's brown, bitter, magical. Makes mornings less painful. She raised an eyebrow. Your kind drinks bitterness for comfort. He laughed. Okay, yeah. That sounds weird when you say it like that. Zura's gaze stayed on him for a moment longer. Then she looked up at the stars. I don't know what I miss. Jackson looked at her. What do you mean? I was trained for duty, for honor, for war. I never had time to wonder what I wanted. Her voice was quieter now, softer. I never even had a friend. He blinked. No one. None who stayed. Jackson's voice dropped to a whisper. I'll stay. Her eyes met his. Something warm passed between them. Not fire, not heat, but something slower, deeper. Zura looked away quickly, as if afraid of her own thoughts. We should sleep, she said. We travel at first light. That night, Jackson woke to a soft sound. He sat up, the fire burning low, casting long shadows on the rocks. Zura wasn't beside him. He stood quietly and followed the sound, bare feet crunching gently on the sand. He found her on a high ledge alone. The wind blew her hair gently. Her back was turned, her hands held tight in front of her. She didn't hear him approach. He stepped closer. You okay? Zura didn't move. Then she whispered, I dreamed of you. He stopped. She turned slightly, eyes glowing faint in the moonlight. You were falling, she said, into a black sky, and I couldn't reach you. He stepped closer. It was just a dream. She shook her head. On my world, dreams carry truth. They show what the heart fears. Jackson looked at her carefully. And what does your heart fear? Zura turned to him fully now. Losing you. He froze. Those 3 words changed everything. She stepped closer, placing her hand gently on his chest. Her fingers trembled. You were supposed to die, she whispered. I was supposed to kill you. And now, I would kill for you. Jackson took her hand and held it. I don't want you to be my prisoner, Zura. I want you to be free. She looked at him. With you, I already am. Their faces were inches apart now. But before anything else could happen, a sharp buzzing filled the air. A drone flew overhead, a small silver machine, scanning the desert with blue light. Zura pulled him down fast. They found us. Already, Jackson whispered. She nodded. They're using tracker insects. We must move. Jackson looked at her, heartbeat racing. Zura, are we running forever? She looked at him, then said, No, we're running toward something now. He stood and followed her down the rocks, deeper into the unknown desert. Behind them, the drone turned and flew back toward the fortress. And in the Queen's war room, a red dot blinked on the map. She smiled. Run as far as you like, the Queen said, but your heart will bring you back to me. The queen's command. The queen's voice echoed through the crystal halls of her palace. She must return. She is my daughter. She will marry as tradition demands. General Kren stood below the throne, his face stiff. Your Majesty, he said carefully, the people are watching. They whisper. Some even say, the human has bewitched her. The queen's eyes narrowed. Then we give them a show. She stood slowly, her golden armor shining with the light of 10 stars. Announced the sacred match. Let it be seen by all. If the human wishes to keep my daughter, he must win her. Far from the palace, Jackson and Zura stood in the shadow of a broken alien tower. It was once a temple, now lost in the desert. Cracked statues of alien gods washed over them, worn down by time and sandstorms. The tower was cold and quiet, but it gave them shelter. Zura stared at the message on her small glowing device. Her hands shook. Jackson noticed. What is it? She turned to him, eyes full of conflict. My mother. She's called for the bonding match. What's that? Zura hesitated. A royal tradition, she said slowly. A warrior must fight for the right to marry royalty. It is old, sacred, brutal. Who's fighting? You, she said, against the strongest warrior of my kind. Jackson blinked. Me, but I'm not. If you don't accept, Zura said, they'll take me back by force. I will be given to someone else. Forever. Jackson's stomach dropped. He looked at her. Her face was calm, but her eyes were afraid. Then I'll fight, he said softly. Zura stepped closer. Jackson, this isn't a human duel. This is combat to the pain. No rules. No mercy. I'll still fight, he said. Why? He reached out and took her hand. Because I'd rather die than let them take you. The arena was larger than before. This time, it wasn't just soldiers watching. Civilians, nobles, royal elders, they all gathered to witness the sacred match. Giant floating screens hovered above, showing close-up views of the battlefield. The queen sat on her high throne, cold and silent. Zura stood beside her, hands clenched. She wore royal robes again, but they felt heavy on her skin. She kept looking at the entrance gate, heart pounding, waiting. Then he arrived. Jackson, wearing simple armor, pieces of leather and metal stitched together by Zura's hands. He walked slowly into the arena, head held high, even though he was clearly outmatched. Across from him stood his opponent, General Kor, 10 feet tall, covered in obsidian armor. A blade twice the length of Jackson's body rested in his massive hands. The crowd cheered for him. Kor, Kor, Kor. Jackson held a short staff, his only weapon. Zura looked at her mother. You know he will die. The queen said nothing. Zura stepped forward. Then I will die with him. The queen's eyes flickered. You would throw away your crown for him. Zura didn't answer. She only looked down into the arena, where the battle began. The gong rang. Kor charged forward like a beast, his blade cutting through the air. Jackson dodged left, barely missing the edge. The wind from the swing knocked him off balance. He rolled, came up swinging with his staff, and hit Kor in the side. It felt like hitting a wall. Kor laughed. You hit like a child. Jackson didn't speak. He waited. Watched. Kor swung again, downward this time. Jackson rolled aside. Sand flew in every direction. He grabbed a handful of it and threw it at Kor's eyes. The alien roared, stepping back. Jackson used the moment to land a hard strike to the back of Kor's knee. The big warrior stumbled. Zura stood, breath held tight. Jackson was fast, smart, but Kor was stronger. Too strong. Minutes passed. Bruises covered Jackson's arms. His staff was cracked. Blood ran from his lip. And then, Kor grabbed him and threw him across the arena. Jackson hit the ground hard. Didn't move. The crowd cheered. Zura screamed. No. Kor walked slowly toward the fallen human. He raised his blade. Jackson didn't get up, but his fingers moved. He reached into his boot and pulled out a shard of alien glass, sharp, small, and hidden. Kor raised his weapon for the final blow. And Jackson rolled, slicing the glass across Kor's leg, right where the armor was weakest. Kor screamed, stumbled back. Jackson got to his feet, grabbed his broken staff, and struck the alien across the face. Once, twice. Kor fell. The crowd gasped. Silence. Then, the queen stood. The human has won the match. Zura ran down the steps, robes flying behind her. She reached Jackson, bloodied and weak, and held his face in her hands. "You fought for me," she whispered. He smiled, coughing. "Did I win?" "Yes," she said, eyes wet. "You won me." Later, in the quiet healing chamber, Jackson lay on a soft alien bed. Zura sat beside him, wrapping his wounds. "You are foolish," she said gently. "I've been called worse. You bled for me. I'd do it again." She leaned forward, resting her forehead on his. "You are not just a human anymore," she whispered. "You are part of me." And in that moment, their bond became something deeper than law, deeper than tradition. A heart had begun to beat, one heart shared between two worlds. The final duel. The sun had barely risen, but the queen's orders echoed across the palace. "Prepare the sky chamber. The human and my daughter will face the trial of fire." Guards bowed deeply and scattered in all directions. Everyone knew what it meant. The trial of fire was the last law, older than blood, older than the crown. It was not a test of strength, not a fight with weapons. It was a test of soul. Jackson woke in the healing room with the soft hum of alien machines around him. Bandages wrapped his chest, arms, and head. His whole body hurt, but the moment he saw Zura sitting beside him, he smiled. She looked tired. Her robes were wrinkled. Her silver eyes were darker than usual, as if sleep hadn't touched her in days. "Morning," he whispered. "It may be our last," she said softly. Jackson sat up slowly. "What do you mean?" Zura stood, walking toward the tall window that looked out at the mountains beyond the city. "My mother wasn't satisfied with the combat match," she said. "She thinks love is not proven with blood alone." "So what now?" he asked, already fearing the answer. "The trial of fire," Zura said. "Two souls enter. Only one leaves untouched. And the other," she turned to him, "is lost forever." Later, dressed in white ceremonial robes, Jackson walked beside Zura through the tall, silver doors of the sky chamber. The room was high above the palace, surrounded by open air and flames that floated, suspended like glowing fireflies. The floor was made of dark glass that showed the stars below. At the far end stood the queen, cold, silent, watching. "You think love is enough," she said to Jackson, "but love is a song. It fades when the wind grows strong. Let us see if yours still sings through fire." She waved her hand. Two circles of flame appeared on the glass floor, one for Jackson, one for Zura. The queen's voice echoed, strange and ancient. "You will face your worst memory and your worst fear. If your heart survives, the flames will part. But if you fall to fear, you vanish." Jackson looked at Zura. She looked back, calm on the outside, but he saw the tightness in her jaw. He nodded to her. "I'm ready." She gave a small nod. "Then let us begin." They stepped into the fire. The world changed instantly. Jackson blinked. He wasn't in the chamber anymore. He stood in a dark room, his old bedroom on Earth. His father sat across from him, shouting. Broken glass was everywhere. Rain hit the window hard. He was 10 years old again. "You'll never be strong," his father yelled. "You always run from pain." Jackson shook his head. This isn't real. But the pain in his chest was. His father's words had always cut deeper than any blade. "You're not a fighter. You're nothing." Suddenly, fire climbed up the walls. The floor cracked. The voice grew louder. "You'll never be enough." Jackson fell to his knees. But then, he heard her voice. Soft, warm. "You are enough, Jackson. To me." He looked up. Zura was standing in the fire. She held out her hand. He grabbed it. The fire around him turned blue, then vanished. He was back in the chamber. Zura stood in her own circle. But her world had changed too. She stood in the palace courtyard, younger, unarmed. Her mother walked past her without looking. The warriors laughed nearby. "She's not strong enough," they whispered. Zura lifted her training blade. "Let me try again," she said. The queen turned slowly. "You are weak," she said. "I trained a warrior. But all I see is a daughter." Zura's heart shattered. Then came the battlefield. Flashes of war, bodies, screams. Her blade stained red. Her hands shook. "You belong to no one," the voice said. "You love no one. You are only a weapon." She curled into herself, trembling, until she heard him. Jackson's voice. "You're more than that, Zura. You are hope." She looked up. He was reaching through the fire. She grabbed his hand, and the flames turned gold and faded. The queen's eyes widened as the fire vanished from both circles. The trial was past. The crowd watching from the sky balconies whispered in shock. They survived. Together. The bond is real. The queen rose, voice cold. Then let the bond be witnessed. Zura and Jackson stepped forward, hand in hand. "No more tests," Zura said. "No more laws. You wanted proof. Now you have it." Jackson spoke next, his voice firm but respectful. "I didn't come here to take your daughter. I came here because she gave me back my life, and I would give her mine." The queen was silent for a long time. Then she stepped down from her throne, walked slowly, stopped in front of them. She raised her hand. Jackson tensed. But then, she placed it gently on Zura's cheek. "You are not the same girl I raised," she said. "You are something more now." She turned to Jackson. "Protect her, or face me again." He nodded. "I will. Forever." That night, for the first time in weeks, Jackson and Zura were alone in peace. They stood on the balcony of their new home, watching stars rise like fireflies across the sky. "We passed," Jackson whispered. Zura leaned her head on his shoulder. "You passed every trial, even the ones I didn't expect." He smiled. "You were the hardest one." She laughed softly. "And worth it." He looked into her eyes. "Always." And beneath the alien sky, a human and a warrior princess stood together, no longer bound by law or fear or fire, but by something stronger than all of them. Forever starts now. The city of Varelia stood still. For the first time in generations, the capital wasn't filled with the sound of marching boots or battle horns. Instead, the wind carried soft music, alien instruments playing slow, gentle notes that drifted between silver towers and glowing gardens. It was the day of union. Not a wedding. Not by Earth standards, and not quite by Virelian tradition either. It was something new. A joining of two hearts from different worlds. Jackson stood quietly in front of a mirror made of polished crystal. His new robe shimmered like starlight, silver threads woven into deep blue fabric. It felt strange, heavy on his shoulders, like the weight of something important. He ran a hand through his hair and took a deep breath. Behind him, an old alien servant smiled. "You clean up nicely, for a human." Jackson laughed. "I'll take that as a compliment." The servant nodded. "Today you are not just a man. You are a symbol of peace, of change." Jackson's smile faded to something more serious. "I didn't plan this," he said. "I didn't ask for it." "But you fought for it," the servant said. "And that is what makes it real." Across the palace, Zura stood before a pool of glowing water. Her armor was gone. Her warrior clothes were gone too. She wore a long flowing dress made from the silk of fire beetles, white, soft, shining like the moon's. A small group of women helped braid her long white hair, weaving in strands of gold and blue. "You look beautiful," one of them whispered. Zura looked at her reflection. She didn't see a princess. She didn't see a weapon. She saw herself. And for the first time in her life, she was proud of that. She thought of Jackson, of his rough hands, his soft voice, his foolish jokes and brave heart. He had changed her, and she had changed him. The joining ceremony was held in the Sky Garden, a floating platform surrounded by waterfalls and glowing trees that reached into the stars. Thousands gathered, humans from the visiting ships, Virelian nobles, soldiers, children, scholars. Even the queen sat quietly, dressed in royal black, her face unreadable. At the center of the garden stood a crystal arch, shaped like two hands reaching for each other. Zura stepped forward first. The crowd murmured in awe. She walked with the grace of a warrior, but the calm of someone who had found peace. Then Jackson appeared. He walked toward her slowly, eyes never leaving hers. When they stood together, the priest raised his hands. "Today, we witness something old and something new, a bond not written in blood or fear, but in hope." Zura took Jackson's hand. The priest continued, "By the old laws, you were bound in servitude. By the new way, you stand as equals." He looked at Jackson. "Do you offer your soul, your strength, and your truth to her?" Jackson nodded. "I do." He turned to Zura. "Do you offer your honor, your spirit, and your trust to him?" Zura held Jackson's hand tighter. "I do." The priest smiled. "Then let the stars witness, and let your lives begin, not as two, but as one." Cheers erupted. The sky above lit up with soft fireworks, silent bursts of color and light that rained down like petals. Zura leaned in and kissed Jackson softly, her hand on his chest. He kissed her back, not like a warrior, not like a human among aliens, but like someone who had finally found home. Later that night, away from the crowd, they stood together on the palace balcony. Jackson looked out at the city. "Do you think they'll accept us?" Zura leaned into him. "They already have." "Not everyone," he said. "True," she admitted, "but enough." They stood in silence for a while. Then Jackson asked, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the spear had pierced me?" Zura turned her face toward him. "I wouldn't be standing here. I would still be a blade, not a woman." He nodded slowly. "And I'd still be lost." She smiled and placed her hand on his chest, right where the glowing scar remained, the mark where the spear had struck but not pierced. "Funny," she said. "It didn't break your body, but it did open your heart." He laughed. "Yeah, and it stabbed me in the feelings instead." She laughed too, a real full laugh that lit up her whole face. Jackson looked at her, serious now. "So what happens now?" "We build something new," she said. "You and me. A life. A legacy." He looked at the stars above them, then back at her. "Forever?" Zura nodded. "Forever." And so, the human and the alien princess, once enemies, once strangers, became something far greater. They became the first bridge between two worlds, not because of war, not because of rules, but because one spear failed, and two hearts began to beat as one.